And on the bottom end of things, the musicians are making exactly what they made 25 years ago, while the cost of living has gone up.
Yeah, and you bring a good point.
So
yeah,
I mean, I certainly see it in the music world, but I think it's like that in all walks of life, you know?
Yeah, I would agree with you, and you bring up a good point, because I know some people, when they hear those concert ticket prices, and I'm actually on the board of the Carolina Theater now, and I've got friends that work at the friends and acquaintances that work at the DPAC, and when they hear those ticket prices, they sometimes are startled at those ticket prices, but like you said, if the market's going to allow people to pay that, then they're going to go ahead and pay that, and then it seems like, I know that a lot of musicians are also not too overly excited about the fact that there seems to be certain kinds of monopolies on certain industries, like certain people that might be in control of the radio stations and in control of the venues, like the big size venues and things of that nature. So they're also kind of driving the prices up when we got things like Clear Channel and Live Nation and things of that nature.
Yeah, but you know, there's always a reaction. And in my community of acoustic music, of folk and blues and things like that, one of the big, great reactions to all this is the emergence of the house concerts. So people have decided to put on shows in their own living rooms, and they invite their friends, and they act like basically a musical tastemaker for their friends, and they bring in an artist that they might not otherwise know, but they know that they're of a high quality, and then people will pay $20 a person and bring their own drinks and whatever, maybe have a potluck dinner, and the musician walks out of the house concert making more money playing to 30 or 40 people than they would have if they played to 100 or 200 people in a club.
Wow.
So
yeah, you're right. That has become more.
You know.
Yeah, that's become more and more popular. I know that Dave Tilley here in this area has been really known for doing those kind of parties, and there have been some other folks that I know that have done those kind of parties. And you're right, it's a small venue, and eventually it even helps them get their careers going, because I know that in Dave's case, he's actually now has his own recording studio, I believe. So, I mean, I'm sure that some of the money he made off of that is what he was able to use to create the recording studio that he now has.
You know, I don't think he ever made any money on presenting those concerts. Most of these hosts are doing it like as a break-even thing, or a lot of them, they just want to put on the music, and they will actually lose money on it just to bring the music to their friends, you know?
Yeah, that's true. So. And there's a lot of folks that would like to see their friends' music seen by a wider audience and things of that nature, or they want to expose their friends to a wider audience and things along those lines. For those that are trying to break into the music business, because there are so many musicians out there, both locally as well as on the national level, and I'm sure that you're always running into young folks that are seeing what you've done in your career, but for folks that want to break into the music industry, whether they're old heads, like I've got a buddy of mine who's a funk musician, and he's trying to restart his career, and he's 62, and then, of course, I've got musician friends that are well into their, like, teens and 20s. So, but if those are folks that are trying to get into the music industry or trying to get back into the music industry, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, I don't have a lot of good advice about starting a career at this point, because it seems tougher than ever, because you can't really make much money from selling your recordings, you know, because of the digital revolution, streaming media. And I think that my values are sometimes different from other folks' values. Like, there's a lot of people out there who tell a young musician that the most important thing for them to do is to get likes on some kind of a page, you know, and to drive their social media up. But I don't see a true correlation to having 10,000 Twitter likes and actually being able to sell out a club in your hometown. It's like I'm really yet to be convinced of the truth of the social media numbers, you know? So all I can say, if I was telling somebody some advice starting out, I'd say learn your instrument. as best as you can. Listen to as much music as you can, and try to meet other musicians and befriend them, invite them to play with you with the hopes that they invite you to play with them, and just build a community that floats more boats, you know?
You talked about that, and one of the things that's always interested me, and I've actually mentioned this to Joe Newberry, and was even thinking of an idea that I tossed out to him, and I'll toss it out to you on the show now. But I'm oftentimes surprised at how many great artists we have here in the Triangle, and I would even argue up and down the East Coast, that even though they're in the same area, don't know each other. Because, like I said, I don't know what that is about or how to solve that. But I know, we've got award-winning artists that are everything from folk and country. I'm thinking about people like John Howie to jazz like Nina Freelon to even art forms that people would not normally consider, like the Magnolia Klezmers, which is a Jewish klezmer group, or the Beauty Operators, which is a women blues group. So, I mean, I almost can't name a genre of music that we don't have somebody that's at least known regionally, if not nationally or internationally. But then sometimes when I talk to the artists about the artists, they're shocked that those same people live in the state that they're in. So one of the things I was talking to Joe Newberry about was possibly either using HI or the Carolina Theater or floating it around, but doing like some sort of artist talk where the musicians or just the artists in general could meet each other. Because that's kind of what happened with Monica's thing when she was speaking before the city council, because she invited different people, and sometimes they didn't know each other until they were over there speaking at the city council and got to know each other that way. But I was wondering if you had noticed that too, where people seem to be so engaged in trying to make it in their world that they aren't necessarily seeing the other people that are in similar fields that are around them. And is that strictly a Triangle thing?
I mean, part of it is that if you're over a certain age, which I probably am, if you're out on the road a lot, when you come home, you don't want to be back in bars. You know, you want to be like staying home and being with your family, you know, and doing the things that I think kind of re-energize you for going out to do another trip. And when I was younger and I was traveling, that we met all the musicians on the road in different towns. But when we came back on Sunday night or something, we were in the local bars meeting and talking with other musicians. So I think the young people, if they're going out all the time, they can meet each other. But I think that for a lot of the people, say, an age of Joe Newberry, you know, he comes back from a 3-week tour or something. He's probably the last thing on his mind is going out to network with musicians in a bar, especially because he doesn't drink too, you know. So right. It's like I try to put together these benefit concerts. I do one every year at Thanksgiving time, and we call it the Pre-Turkey Day Jam. And I usually try to get a number of different musicians every year to be part of it. And I often started with like a Songwriters in the Round thing, where I get to selfishly play with these different musicians. You know, so it's an opportunity for me to sometimes meet new musicians and reconnect with older people that I was friends with. But we try to get a wide variety. Like we had Carter Miner this last year, and he's a wonderful jazz and blues vocalist. And we've had rock people, we've had people from the bluegrass world, and sometimes we try to mix and match such that those people will end up playing together. So this year we had like a guy like Carter Miner playing harmonica with a banjo player, Hank Smith, next to him. So I mean, you kind of have to make the opportunities, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's where I was going with the conversation with Joe Newberry, was to kind of create those kind of opportunities where kind of what you had done with that jamboree and everything, and using some of our venues and everything. Is there a favorite venue that you have, both locally or you mentioned Cat's Cradle, of course, celebrating its 50th year, but are there any other favorite venues you have here or even around the world that you really enjoy going to perform? You feel that venue just really knows what they're doing venue-wise, and you really enjoy playing it there as a venue.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of them. For me as a musician at this point in my career, one of the things that I really appreciate is good sound in the room, you know,
right.
and an audience that really listens and things. So, you know, like I enjoy playing at the Cary Theater over there in Cary. They've made a really nice room in there. That music gets put on by David Sardina with Six String Presents. Another room that we enjoy playing is the Cat's Cradle back room, which is they will bring out seats, and there's a little balcony, and you can really put on a concert, you know. Some of my favorite places to go hear music and hang out with friends, like the Blue Note Grill, you know, it's not quite as much of a concert as it is a party, you know. And the music that I play, we will be playing the Blue Note Grill in May. But I tend to like the places where I can stretch out, talk to the audience, try to make, you know, connections.
Gotcha. Now, my partner in crime is up there in New Jersey. Is there any favorite places that you have in New Jersey and New York area? Because that's where Dean and his wife and all of their associates are kind of based in that New York, New Jersey area. So
I'm actually playing in New Jersey this weekend.
where are you playing?
I'm playing in Stockton, New Jersey, which is over near New Hope, Pennsylvania. It's on the border, I think, on the Delaware River.
Mm-hmm.
And FJ Ventry will be playing with me on bass, and we will be splitting two shows with Beppe Gambetta, who is a internationally famous flat-picking guitar player from Italy. And he invited us to share a couple shows, and we're going to reciprocate by getting him down to North Carolina in June.
Sounds like a good...
But I know in the spring we'll also be playing in Jersey City at the Fox and Crow. And other than that, I have not been playing in New Jersey too much. We play usually more often in up in New England and New York sometimes.
Yeah. Well, Dean, Jon is an amazing musician, so one of those two gigs, you're going to have to try to find a way to talk your wife to go in to check him perform, because he does some great performances and is definitely a master of the musical styling that he is known for. So definitely you need to drag the wife out and head on over there in one of those shows. I think you will thoroughly enjoy the show.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, come on up. It's at the Prallsville Mills in Stockton, New Jersey, on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon.
Now, we were talking about advice that you would give folks and everything, Jon, and you mentioned some very solid advice. Now, you were college educated. Now, I've heard some people say that they think that is a good thing for musicians. I've heard some other people say that they're not as convinced that it's all that great for musicians. They'd rather the musicians to learn the old-fashioned woodshed kind of way, you know, that you mentioned earlier, kind of like learning it on your own and things of that nature. Were you very much convinced that college education for music is a good thing, or are you kind of like on the border with that?
I was not a music major, though. I was a history major.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't study music.
I did not realize you were a history major over there. So you studied all that great history, and were you thinking you were going to be a history teacher, Jon?
No, I had a dream that I could play music. You know what I mean? But I was not convinced. I was not convinced that it was a viable job choice. And I don't think that my mother is still convinced of it. But you know, I don't have much of a resume otherwise at this point, so I'm sticking with it. But no, I just wanted to get a good degree from a good college in case it didn't work out, you know. And back then, Duke was a little bit easier to get into probably than it is now. I don't think I would get in. But I got a good education. You know, I do know some people who have gone to places like Berklee School of Music and have studied the straight up, you know, musical path. And I don't know if it's necessary or not, but I'm sure it does